Hello, Sagittarius. How's everybody doing today? It's so nice to see you, and we have a wealth of information to go through. Just a quick reminder, you're joining for the month of August. Again, this is for Sagittarius, and it can be used for the sun, the rising, as well as the moon. So good to see you. Little Apollo wanted to stop in and say hello, but I'm going to put him down so we can get to business because there's a lot to talk about here. So first and foremost, I'd like to just introduce myself in case you're brand new to the channel. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and every month I like to show up and show you what the possibilities really are. And there are so many things to cover today. A quick preview of what I was doing this morning, channeling the messages. A lot came through in dreams, and I was busy this morning kind of decoding all of that for you. So that'll be the first part of our reading here in just a moment. If you're brand new, let me talk a little bit about how I structure this. As I said just a moment ago, it can be used for sun, rising, and moon. You can watch on behalf of someone in your life. If you don't happen to know all of that information, just stick with the sign that you were born under, and that's going to give you all that you need to get started. I have 4 major parts actually to the reading. I begin with channeled messages, which were on the table in front of me, basically both in dreams and then also meditation just before I get started. I receive information clairvoyantly. So the first part is a big psychic download. After that, I've already selected a deck of cards. We'll be using that to see highlights and then any sort of challenges that might be coming through as well. And then I like to focus on some specific areas. I let the Celtic Cross take us where it needs to, but then we go into health, wealth, love, and destiny, and that's the third part, the expanded forecast. We'll quickly review all of that after we do the expanded forecast, and then we go into the soul path, which is a chance to really discover not just what's coming through for now, for those of you that are in the live reading here in July, and then of course August, which I'm reading, but really the latter part of 2020. So it's deeper things that will help empower you for the rest of the year, which is something I think we all care about. So we'll look at past, present, and future influences. As I'm looking at kind of what's in front of me, a lot of this is about overcoming some emotional triggers and possibly using some of the passion that you have to really be effective. So it'll take on its own sort of focal point after we get through the reading, but that part is really to help you overcome any blocks and be as empowered as possible. Then we'll meditate and bring it all together, okay? So welcome back, everybody. I see we have a lot of channel members here today, everyone with green text. Thank you so much. A lot of people from different parts of the world. It's so nice to see everybody showing up today and allowing for this wonderful kind of assembly and download to happen. Welcome to Ryan and Maria. These are my moderators. They'll help you answer any high-level questions about like how to contact me, where to find the decks that I use, all of that stuff. They can put the links out there. So welcome to them, and also be kind to them too, because they're doing a great job here holding the space. Before we get started, just a quick note. If you'd like to sort of say hello and give me some encouragement as I'm doing the reading, there's a little button here right next to the emojis, and this is called Super Chat. It only works if you're watching this live. But if you want to send a sticker or express some gratitude, you can do that. You can also join and become a channel member by doing that. So with that being said, let's get into the messages, Sagittarius. There's a lot to go through today. Okay, so this morning, this actually came through in the early hours of the morning, probably like, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning. I woke up with this really vivid dream and vision that was specifically for your sign. What I saw was a really deep fog, but it wasn't like, or a mist, but it wasn't kind of environmental. It was energetic. And what I was noticing was that, sorry, a little tuft of Apollo's hair there. What I noticed was that it felt really heavy. It was hard to breathe. And I also kind of felt like this energy that was pushing me down. Not quite sadness, but just this feeling of almost not being able to move. So I used to spend, like I've been in California for almost 20 years, but I spent a very short amount of time in the Pacific Northwest, like in the Washington state area. And it was around winter time, 3 or 4 months I was up there. And I remember that for the first time ever in my life, I heard about these things called sun breaks, where like on the forecast, they would say it'd be mostly rainy today, but we'll have a chance for a sun break in the afternoon. It was a really big deal because you could go sometimes weeks and weeks without seeing sun. And in the wintertime, if there was an hour or two, or even just like a half hour where the sun was out, people would suddenly kind of flock to any open area and just try to take in their vitamin D. So what I kind of got as I was tuning into all of this is really a month where you're going to have to be the ray of hope, the sunbreak that might be cutting through some of the energy of people around you. When I did a scan of the room in this sort of heavy fog or energy, I noticed what was kind of the equivalent of friends or family around you. And it looked like you were able to sort of snap out yourself, maybe another person, but not everybody. And sometimes as light workers, this is a difficult part of the message, which is it's important to be hopeful. It's important to try to light the way and show the way, but ultimately free will and free choice is what makes this planet so amazing. And so your job is not to tell people what to do, it's to illuminate, to illustrate, and to open the potential. And if you do that, I feel like you're not going to get weighted down. So let me walk through the messages because I articulate it in a way that I think you'll like. The message from my guides is to lift the fog and to sort of be that break in the heaviness, be the sunbreak, basically. And imagine it as one of those beautiful moments in a movie where you see these rays of light coming through from the clouds and kind of breaking on the water. It's just as sort of breathtaking as you think. If you've ever been to Puget Sound, you'll see stuff like that where it takes your breath away. This is symbolic of the energy of hope. I was listening to an interview before this civil rights leader. We had a senator here in the United States that died. And I was listening to a little piece of what he talked about earlier. Like he had gone through several things where he'd been beaten up and done all these things. And he said, I never gave up hope. I never gave up a dream of tomorrow. And I think that what's important for all of us is to remember how hope is a tool for change. And also it can help you when you're feeling like you can't get up and go. And that's what I kind of saw was a lot of people in the room just sort of in their own fog or in their own funk. And you have to kind of snap out of it. And you're going to be the one that can maybe inspire a few people around you, but not everybody. That's okay, because then they can inspire people around them. It's a chain reaction that we're starting. You don't have to light the whole planet up at once with hope and light. Just one or two souls will do it. So you are the light in the fog, but others must choose their own path and maybe to follow the light or the dark. So hopefully they'll follow the light, but you stay the light. You be the light. You are the light. As long as you're kind of that energy, you're going to be okay. Don't let the lower frequencies or thoughts that these folks might have eclipse your own. The other piece of the meditation that I saw was stepping out, and it was almost like the moon had eclipsed the sun. And then when I stepped out into the sort of light, the sun was revealed again and came and shined down on me. So sometimes it can almost feel like the sun is gone or the light is gone or the air in the room is gone. You have to find the hope. You have to find your connection to source, and it will come back, basically, is what I saw. Keep your sunny disposition, your sunny outlook. That hope is going to be a viral and positive energy that will pull other people into it. So we need sunny outlooks now more than ever. It's not about sort of a Pollyanna approach. It's about trying to find a way to make things better. And, I'm mentioning civil rights leaders, but like Dr. Martin Luther King, I've said this before, he had a dream, he had hope, he fought for what was important, and it wasn't easy. And there's a lot of other leaders who have done the same thing, fighting for different causes. Sometimes you don't win the battle in your own lifetime, but you start that positive chain reaction. And so this month, looking at August, it's about a sort of paradigm shift where you're going to change the perspective for yourself and maybe for some people around you. And that is going to attract better opportunities coming through for you, okay? This is a nice segue into the next piece, which was my guides were showing me this bottle, which I felt had kind of like that heavy energy or that negative energy. And the message was just take the lid off, let it go. Because I've talked before about even the phrase holding a grudge or holding on to something. If we do that, it can become a sort of heavy energy. It can even sort of be poisonous on some level. So what you want to do is open up, allow for things to breathe, allow your thoughts, allow your energy, allow for new perspectives, stay open, because they were just showing this kind of like decanting, this opening up. And as you find positive ways to release any frustration, you can also stay open to positivity and new insights. So don't close yourself off, because it was almost like a saline solution, which I can kind of connect to tears. So you don't want to bottle that emotion up. You want to allow for it to just kind of evaporate, to be free, to get out. And then what came to me as I was meditating just before this was, if you can kind of get into your inner alchemist, this is where you're going to find your power. You can transmute. So one thing that I use, and it's an old, it doesn't matter what religion it is. I'm cosmically spiritual, by the way, so I'm open to everything. But there's a really nice prayer called the Prayer for St. Francis, where it's all about transmuting. And basically some of the lines are like, where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. It goes on and on and on. But basically, it's a chance for you to take something that is shadow and bring in the hope and the light. And so it's a great prayer if you want to look at it. Again, non-denominational, it's just about transmuting. I'm looking at it from a very spiritual and esoteric point of view, where I'm like, they're onto something. St. Francis, whoever wrote this, it was onto something, because there's a power in not being afraid to look at something that triggers you, and then to figure out like, okay, how do I fix it? And then some thoughts came to me, like for example, if you go into fear, the way to kind of transmute this or to change it is to really start to find information, because a lot of times ignorance and fear feed into one another. So as you start to become knowledgeable about something, the fear melts away a little bit. And if you are angry, then instead of just allowing for the anger to build up, you could create a plan of action. You could assemble with others. You could start to create that chain reaction that we're talking about and transmute this into something positive and something proactive. If you're feeling alone, find your tribe, find your community, start to see if others feel the same way. All lower frequencies can be transmuted by action. Everything in this universe can be balanced out. So it's the beautiful part, it's the frustrating part. But if we ever feel the darkness within, we just need to find a way to get into the light again, but not to dismiss what triggered it as well. So if you're afraid of something, think about, what was the fear? Was it a fear of success? Was it a fear of failure? Was it a fear of being judged? Was it something else? Because you've got to also go to that and alleviate that as well. So don't bottle up your emotions. Transmute things from a low frequency to a high frequency. And I gave some examples here about how you could take common things like fear, anger, and isolation, something I think a lot of us are feeling right now, and bring them into a higher space, okay? So let's take a look at the next piece that came through, which was to follow your heart. And one thing that I saw here was there could be a perceived roadblock that's not actually what it seems. What my guides were telling me is that some of you may have someone in your life question, interrogate, or even just give you a temporary sort of no. Say, are you sure? Or we need some more information, or why do you want to do this? And what they're really doing is kind of like a pressure test to see if you're passionate about it. So sometimes, a denial or a perceived block is just a chance to validate and understand why. So if they say no, or it's really a chance for you to kind of go back and state your case more clearly. So lead the pack. One thing that I'm going to say is, if you have a feeling that it's time to do something, don't wait for people to come to you. Elevate that and also escalate that if necessary to someone that can listen. And if they say no initially, especially if you're trying to make a policy change in government or a school, or even in your family, if there's someone that doesn't want to do something, an old grandparent or something like that, what you have to say is, no, things have changed. We have to look at this from another perspective. Let me explain to you why it's important. And as you bring them into that understanding, there could be a change of heart. They really want to see where you stand. So sometimes leaders pressure check to just see, are you sure? I need you to convince me. And so there's a difference between an outright no and someone that's saying, I don't know, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced means you need to work harder at stating your case. If they simply say, no, we don't have the budget, you could say, well, have you looked at how we're spending in here, here, and here? I can save us money, put it back in here, and all of a sudden you're not going to have to spend anything else. Work harder to get something that you want done, and maybe try to avoid the no by being proactive and doing that research. And if you come to them with a couple of solutions, it gets hard to say no. And if they can just see it as a potential win-win, you're saving money and then helping them do something else, you win. You found a way around it. So fight for something that matters, but it does require a lot of work. Hopefully that makes sense. The next piece, and it kind of leads into this symbol that came to me before. So I had a second dream this morning, and before I woke up, there was I could hear the buzzing of this animal or this insect, and then I realized that it was a symbol for you too. But I saw a hornet or a wasp, which is an interesting totem insect to come through, because we always like things like butterflies or hummingbirds or whatever. But sometimes I'm not afraid if I see like a spider or a wasp or a snake, because they also are, to me, very powerful symbols. So to me, when I was kind of tuning into what a hornet or a wasp could indicate, the first thing that I thought is it's powerful. If I see that out in nature, I am aware of its presence. I probably go out of my way to avoid it. And I know that, it can kind of do what it wants. So understand, if this energy is coming into your totem, into your month as well, you have the potential to bring through power, strength, and action, because there's a leadership energy to that as well. People will listen to you. They will pay attention to you. There's a double-edged sword, of course, with the hornet or wasp, which is, you need to really use your words wisely, because I feel like they can uplift or they can cut or sting, quite literally. And this is the thing to be aware of. Just like, a snake has some connotations of, you don't want to disturb it, or it can kind of snap. So you try not to make a quick judgment. With this, it's really about communication and picking and choosing what you want to fight for. There are certain things, though, where that kind of energy is exactly what you want. If you're trying to defend yourself, you may want a lawyer that has that capability to go up there, hold court, and really make an impact. And you want the words to stick with people. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can either be demonstrative and sort of imply the energy and the strength and the leadership without having to say it or do it. People can just pick up on this sense of gravitas, of energy, of something that they're going to respect. Or you can pick and choose a moment where you're going to really go for it. Just don't overdo that. Obviously, that can be heavy. Okay. And then I also wanted to kind of underline that you can demonstrate power through actions, not acting out. With this visibility comes also responsibility to be a role model. So I really like the energy around that, actually. And it was about being heard, being seen, and taking that moment of visibility and really, again, uplifting everyone around you. Okay. Finally, there was one last message that came through in the channeled portion, which was to really get to know the people around you, whether it's a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, someone who you just pass every day. Could even be someone like a barista that takes your order. Get to know some of these people in your life. There's no such thing as the little people. There are just people. And there are people around you that may be a hidden ally and could have some really important information for you, could be able to help you through something. They have an important connection to you. So I want you to get to know all of those folks around you in your everyday life that you just may not spend a lot of extra time talking to, because a surprise connection could come through. Could be a job, could be a friend, could just be, oh my gosh, I never knew that we went to the same school or we had this common interest. So I see something nice, a silver lining here, that there could just be a new friend that pops up out of a lot of this other stuff that we've been talking about. So really some powerful energy coming through. You are that sunbreak, just to kind of quickly go through this. Hope is what this is all about. This is a month to be hopeful, to be optimistic, to have that sunny outlook, but also to realize this is the realistic part. This is the grounded part where Pollyanna wouldn't deal with it, but this is what it is. Your job is simply to illuminate, to teach, to allow for people to see. It's their choice to listen or not to listen. And it's more inviting if you're not pushy with that. So place it out as an option on the spiritual buffet and let them choose it if they want. Don't bottle up your emotions. Find ways to go through and kind of let that out. So I always talk about art and expression being a powerful sort of outlet, but also transmute your thoughts this month. Follow your heart. An initial, I would say it's being declined, not necessarily a no, or being pushed back. It's not as bad as you may think. It's really a chance for you to state your case more clearly. So an initial setback is actually just a challenge for you perhaps to get organized and go at it from a different angle. The next piece again was to own your strength, but also be a role model and then get to know the people around you. So powerful messages that came through. Let me get everything organized here and we're going to segue into the cards. One last note, I don't know if I said this before, but I don't do Q&A or pick a card whenever anybody gives any sort of contributions. It's just a chance to give back, but I will say thank you when this goes live in the comments, and I'm going to say thank you now. All right, let me turn the camera down. I'm going to shuffle everything and see what additional messages are coming through for this month. And thank you so much, by the way, for the contribution that I did just get. Okay. Let's see what's coming through, Sagittarius. All right, thank you everyone for giving me a moment to get everything assembled. Let's take a look at the messages that came through, okay? So from Ganesha, we have kind of what I was talking about with transmuting energy. We have insight. And I do think that this is a great way to, whether it's research, whether it's information, whether it's just talking to others, gaining that insight helps you go through fear or uncertainty. And of course, this one is attached to the third eye. So just as I receive a lot of messages through dreams and meditations, some of you may find an opening this month where your instincts, your intuition, and your inner knowing is just kind of shining through. I want you to trust that and also go into what feels right. It's sometimes what makes sense on paper doesn't always pan out. And great business minds have this, we used to sort of say like just this gut instinct, but of course I really think it's the third eye. They're able to go into what's important and they can see through some of the nonsense. So your intuitive powers are taking off this month, and I believe it's called Ajna, but we have the third eye chakra opening up for many of you. So feel free this month to go into meditation. We were talking about the need to have an outlet, a way to sort of but decant some of your emotions. So open up, stay aware, and really kind of allow yourself to go different places. If you keep everything closed, it's kind of like the Four of Pentacles. It's not going to allow you to explore. All right, so we have two very different and interesting cards at the center. We have the Devil card, but it's crossed by the Four of Wands. This goes into that last little piece of channeled information that I had for you, which is you could have an ally in unexpected places. And it's important to really get to know people this month, because you may even misunderstand where someone's coming from. Someone that maybe, I mentioned that there could be a no or pushback. Maybe someone is trying to help you avoid something or help you get something clarified. So we have what appears to be a block or a setback. And then right on top of that, we have maybe a hidden friendship coming through, maybe someone that's going to come through in your moment of feeling challenged and kind of show you the way. So I think that you want to keep your hope through whatever this situation, the Devil, could be, because I really like the energy on top of this. This could actually be revealing who your friends are and who they are not, so to say. So some really positive messages hidden underneath this card. I think because we're starting with the Devil, we should talk about it a little bit. One thing that is important whenever this comes through, just looking at it as an expression of yourself, is to make sure that you're being real and honest with what's going on, like just to you, like thinking of what's going on in your life. If there's something you have to change, be real, get an action plan, talk to someone, just take care of it, basically. If there's someone in your life that is not holding up to their end of the bargain because, they're not ready, a lot of times this shows that you and someone else are not on the same page. So if you're looking at getting married, for instance, you might be dating someone who just wants to stay single or doesn't want to commit. It can be the same thing with any sort of partnership, and that partnership energy is important because that's what the Four of Wands is. So you may have someone that's there for you, but they just can't give you exactly what you need. And so it may not be the full-on sort of energy of the Devil card. It could just be, this is it. This has to be enough. And you have a choice this month to think to yourself, there's no right answer here. Is it enough? And that's the question that I would sort of position to you. If it is, then you know the limits. If it's not, then you might be thinking about moving on. It's really important that I pull the camera down and show you what's going on around this, because there's some things that definitely could relate to people that are either just meeting somebody, might be in a relationship, or looking to date someone. So there's some relationship important information here at the center that I want to talk about. And I think it'll be better to have the camera down while I do this. So we have the Three of Cups, which can show casual dating, meeting new people, celebrations, parties, mixing and mingling, basically. We have the Four of Wands, which can show a commitment, which is a good friendship. And then we have the Devil, which can sometimes be a third party that could come between something like this. It can also be someone that you meet who, again, isn't ready to date. Maybe this is a rebound relationship. Maybe they're still in touch with their former partner. Maybe someone that could just be a friendship is not doing everything that they should, because we have the Seven of Swords here in the deep past. And this has to do with conversations behind the scenes. No matter what, there will be a revelation this month, because the Four of Wands is right on top. That ally, that potential protector that I'm talking about, will come forth if you're open. So I feel like you're protected. And in fact, what's going to happen is something is going to be revealed so you can move forward. It's interesting. These are like brother and sister cards. I almost always pull the Five and Seven of Swords together. So clarity and transparency and communication is essential. And I see a cycle being broken, because we have the Eight of Cups there in the crowning position. So some very specific energy around relationships. If you just met someone, don't move too quickly. Really get to know who they are and make sure that you both want the same thing. I think that's all it is. You don't have to get scared about this. It just seems like for somebody, like it could be a rebound, they could be rushing into something. There could be something that you need to get to know about them first. Once you know that, you can decide if you want to go further. If you've been dating someone, or if you're with somebody, or if you're in a partnership, a business partnership or friendship with someone, something will come to light this month. I think for many of you, your friendship is going to stand the test, because it's crossed by the Four of Wands. So my sort of motto with friends in my life is that I can deal with anything as long as you come to me and tell me about it. I'd rather not learn from other people, from the gossip meal. And that's what's going to happen, is that the water cooler or gossip mill could come forth this month and reveal something. So if you need to share whatever's on your mind, or if something's coming out, control it. That's like rule number one in PR, is to control the cycle of information. And it's better to have accountability, honesty, and if necessary, to apologize. And it needs to be heartfelt. You need to really believe what you're saying. And then I feel like you can move on, because that's what we have here. For some of you, that will just be moving on and moving past. For some of you, it could be that it's just time to let it go. So there's an important test to friendships and relationships this month. If it's a marriage, this is a chance to kind of look at where you're at. Has communication broken down? Has intimacy broken down? Is there anything you can do to kind of firm up those foundations? And if so, I feel like you just both need to do a little bit of work there, and it can be sorted out. Again, it's the partnership that comes through stronger, and also the ability to sort of take that on and move forward. If you focus solely on what is wrong or what is like in the past, then that could kind of pull you off that path, and there is a chance to kind of go either way with this. All right, let's take it out of the relationship field and just look at these as other aspects. I think this month it's just important for you to be honest. This has been a common thread throughout all of the August readings. There is some sort of revelation energy that's coming through where things come out. And if you shouldn't say something, don't. Because if you have a secret to keep, it's yours to keep and it's the other person's to keep, a secret that you want to keep. But if you've signed like an NDA, or there's something that's launching and you want to make sure that nobody knows, like keep it quiet, because what I'm seeing is things are going to spread if you tell somebody, even if it's inadvertently so, or something like if you write it and keep it out on a table. You just want to be careful with the communication of information. Okay, so the Three of Cups is a good card. It's actually about celebrations and connections. And one of the things that's interesting with this is we have to be careful. Obviously, we're in a time where we miss that, right? This is what most of us want to do. We want to connect, we want to celebrate, but we do have the Devil card here connecting all of these. So this could, for many of you, just be about social distancing and deciding how to navigate that. So less is more. It's a moderation card. The Three of Cups and the Nine of Cups always have that energy of a little bit is good, but a lot necessarily isn't. So really just be smart about it. It doesn't mean that you can't be around the people you love. It just means small doses, observing everything that you need, and you can still have what you seek, but you just have to be smart about it. Making and breaking cycles. I love the Eight of Cups. I actually love when it's reversed, because it tells me for many of you, you could step away from something that you don't want. Also means that you have a second chance, which goes hand in hand with what I was talking about in the channeled message. A sort of initial pushback is not the same as an outright no or denial. And I'm not convinced is not the same as an outright denial as well. So for many of you, the door is open to approach it in a different way. Not to be a pest about it. You know, once or twice is enough, but see what you can do. There's a little bit of flexibility with second chances this month. Also, there could be a reconnection from someone from the past, and this could be a chance to heal. If we look at this entire sort of center part of the cross differently, this is something that maybe didn't end well in the past, and you might bump into this person again, deal with that, and you move on. You actually literally move on and break that cycle, that karmic cycle, that sort of holding on to a grudge. This is that opening up or uncorking, as I was kind of talking about earlier, where you're able to let go of the sadness. Okay, so I like that. And the Eight of Cups often has that energy of holding something with you, because a traditional illustration, Rider-Waite-Smith, you would see 7 of those 8 cups with the person kind of holding the other one. That's why there's always room to go back. You see space for that 8th cup to come back. Here we see it on the table. So this is your chance to let go of something from the past and move forward. Ultimately, whatever happens this month, it is a blessing, because as we look at your near future card, we have the 10 of Wands, which is like graduation, realization, moving forward, moving on, stepping up. It's good stuff, basically. Some of you might be faced with a decision of whether or not to move. This could be a physical move. This could also be new ways to deal with travel, since we can't do it the way we used to. As I said earlier, one of the ways to deal with that feeling of frustration or anger is to make a plan. I actually love that in your ego this month, we have the high priest or the Hierophant, because that really is about figuring out, how do I get organized? How do I get people behind me? And how do I sort of deal with this feeling that stuff has to change? So create that sort of plan of attack. And the only thing that I would say with the Hierophant is the openness is key. And we're seeing that with the Queen of Wands, who I've been joking, she's always in reverse this month. So we have the Queen of Wands in reverse, which is saying you have everything you need to manage your life right now. And you probably have certain things in your life that have served you very well. Habits, knowledge, skills, things that you've carried from past lives to this life. But it is saying a slight opening is going to be necessary to get the next thing done. And also like cooperation, because at the center, we have the Four of Wands. So really finding the right people and being able to delegate, to cooperate, to sometimes acquiesce. I mentioned earlier, like not to give up, but I think it is important sometimes to support others as well. And that's what we see with the Four of Wands. So sometimes you'll need the support, sometimes they'll need the support. For some of you, that's what just has to happen here with the Devil, is more reciprocity, more balance. As we look at hopes, fears, and possibilities, here we go. Here's the Hornet. We have the Knight of Swords in reverse. And I love all court cards within the suit of swords. I'm an air sign myself, so it's a good thing. But when it's reversed, that's where you want to be careful. I like the direct energy around this. It's basically showing you that more can get done by being transparent and honest. And that's what we actually see in the outcome, not beating around the bush, definitely not repeating whatever the Seven of Swords energy was in the past. Instead saying, this is what we need to do. This is how we can do it. But remember that you don't want to insult. You don't want to be critical without a constructive foundation. And if there's not something positive that will come out of the communication, it just ends up being sort of like this energy, which can be gossip or sort of just fantastic, but not really helping anything. It's just really for effect. So always make sure that your words lift up or create the change that you want. It's okay to have them stick with people and to sort of really be direct and intense, but have that intensity do something, not just sort of be it some sort of a zinger that goes in there and hurts. And finally, I'm glad that the Five of Swords is reversed. This is really about picking and choosing the battles that matter, choosing better ways to communicate, and walking away from things that aren't necessary. I mentioned earlier that you can't win everything. You can't win over everyone. You can't transmute everything. It's not your job to do that. It's just your job to really evolve your own soul and hopefully elevate the energy around you to the best of your capacity. We're constantly changing. We're constantly evolving. As long as you're doing that, then you're doing a pretty solid job as a light worker. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to take another sip here, and then we're going to look at the expanded forecast, starting with the health card, and then we'll go to wealth, love, and destiny. All right, let's begin with health. Health is not just what's going on in your body. We'll talk about that after I do this, but it's also spiritual energy, as well as your, I would also say what you're doing in your programming, your mind. So as I've started to develop as a reader, a lot of times I find that it's what's up here and what here that is kind of like affecting your body. So let's see what's going on here. We have discover your superpower, access 100% of your mojo. This is about what we saw with the Ganesha card here. I believe that many of you are opening up to increased capacity to connect with your intuition. The other thing is, where have you been limiting yourselves? This could be coming from childhood, from societal pressures. Is there something that you do very, very well, but have been dissuaded from exploring because it wasn't appropriate or acceptable or expected? So, you know, if you're someone who grew up in a family where you were expected to go into a practical art, but you're creative, or vice versa, it could be as simple as that. It could also be something where, you know, your life path just diverges from what everyone else thinks it should be. Maybe you want children and they thought you shouldn't have it, or vice versa. This is your chance just to be you and do what you do best. But I also think that there's a divine gift that you've been given that maybe you're getting a little closer to embracing. If you look really close at this card, it's almost like we see like mother-daughter, or God and human energy, or angelic and sort of human energy here. I feel like you're connecting to that higher energy, and it does have some divine feminine sort of characteristics to it. So if you allow yourself to channel and create, really good things could happen from this. It's also going to create that sense of inner fulfillment, of not questioning like, could I, should I, or, why didn't I do this? It will erase that sort of doubt that's been maybe hanging around in your head. So the second chance for some of you is to rekindle the flame of inspiration, of energy, of something that you did before. The other thing is, could you be in a sort of marital situation, a friendship, or a familial situation where someone won't let you have your power? This is your environment card, so it's not necessarily an expression of you always. So the Queen of Wands as your energy, even reverse, can be good. In the environment, she can be a little bit bossy. She can be a little bit pushy. So you're going to find your inner Wasp or Hornet energy, rise up and say, I have the same power that you do. I keep quiet sometimes, but that doesn't mean that I don't have an insight on this. And you're going to find a way to transmute it. So I see sort of an elevation and a growth of that internal power. And for some of you, that's going to be your third chakra that you're going to have to work on a little bit, because that's where you hold that. And that's why I was also seeing the divine feminine energy. So discover your power, own it, really work on this chakra and this one as well. So your third eye and also your third chakra, they're going to be important. Looking at just general health messages this month, I think it's important for those of you that have overcome an addiction in your life, because these two cards side by side can show that, to realize that you have a support system there that you can lean on, that will be there if you're feeling tempted. You don't have to give into that. We have the Eight of Cups in reverse, and you've got this if that's the case, okay? Other things to focus on, make sure that if you are doing any sort of heavy lifting, or if you're getting back into exercising, because some places in the world are opening up, some are closing down. We're going to have this sort of elastic energy of give and take. If you haven't been in the gym in a few months and you're starting to get back into a fitness routine, just don't overdo it. Your body needs time to build up. And a lot of times with the 10 of Wands, if you're lifting weights or you're doing push-ups or you're trying to work out, you could pull a muscle, slip a disc. You don't want to do that, so take care. And those are the main things that I see here. Okay, let's look at your wealth card, which, much like health, is multi-part. It has to do with how you feel about yourself, how you deal with opportunities presented to you, and of course, money. All right, so I love this. This is the creative energy that I was talking about. We have ceremony, and the word is invocation right underneath it. And for many of you, this could be something just for yourself. Not everything that we do has to, make money or make the world better. A lot of times it's just an internal evolution that may eventually do some of those things. But for some of you, it could be getting back into something that is sacred to you. So maybe you like writing or journaling or drawing, or you just want to get back out in nature, whatever it is that you feel like a secret connection to your soul and to the universe. I'd love for you to do some of that. There could also be a spiritual path opening up for some of you. We have the third eye opening up here. We have the sort of spiritual energy coming through in the health area. And then, of course, when I look at ceremony and invocation, to me, this shows healing, esoteric, spiritual sort of openings for you. We need that on the planet right now. So maybe some of you are thinking of going into being a therapist, being a healer, somehow doing light work. That's definitely part of this. It's also going back to school, which is something that I've talked about for a couple of signs this month. For you, it comes through in a different way. And it could be at home, because there's not a lot. This isn't a traditional 8 of Pentacles or 3 of Pentacles. So it's training and evolving yourself, but on your own schedule, in your own way. And however that feels right, I think it's good. It is worth noting, I'm going to do a quick scan to make sure I didn't miss it. I did not. There are no Pentacle cards this month. And so since we're looking at wealth, I'd be remiss to not mention that, because that's an expression of sort of abundance or resources in your life. It feels to me like if you need something, you should ask for it, because For some of you, it's been limited, but you have the ability to gather forces. There's some very positive energy between 3 of Cups, 4 of Wands, and 10 of Wands. All of this shows to me someone who is a doer, who can rally the forces. And so speak up, because there could be something going on where it's not fair. Maybe you're not getting paid what you should be paid. Maybe that's even illegal. Maybe that's against policy. So this would be a month to kind of like figure out how you're going to deal with that. You either fix it internally or move on to a place where you are kind of taken care of. Wealth is interesting when we look at folks that are retired. I always like to kind of look at people in different ends of their life. So whether you're young or mid-career or older, I want to look at retired folks for a moment. What I'm seeing here for many of you is a chance to also talk about what's important to you. With the 5 of Swords and the 7 of Swords, sometimes it's scary to talk about like what you're going to do with a living will, a trust. Also, if you have questions about your own finances, you know, in this time where the stock markets are going crazy and everything, I think it's a really good time to be transparent and ask for some guidance and help. Don't just go with what friends and, you know, rumors might be of what you should do. Really ground yourself in the knowledge and ask for some assistance here. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming to deal with it all yourself. This is true also if you're 20 or 100 or somewhere in between. I think it's important not to feel like you have to shoulder that burden on yourself. So ask for some help. I feel like the resources are lacking a little bit this month. So look around you, see if there's something you can tap into, talk to other people, fight for things if you're not getting respected or given the sort of opportunities that you need. For some of you, it looks like it might be a chance to set goals for the next year. It might not be right now, maybe, you know, sort of 5 to 7 months from now, but it looks like it might be time to move on. Move up or move on, basically. And that's what I see with wealth. And let me see if there's anything else. With respect to how you feel about and think about yourself, I want you to really make sure that you are positive. Going back to lifting the fog, some of that is in your own energy and your own thoughts. So don't be too critical of yourself. If you only focus on the critical aspects, other people tend to do the same. So you want to also think of what you're doing well and what you bring to the equation. Now we're going to move on to love and relationships. We talked a lot about that earlier. For this particular one, this was that bottling up of energy that I saw. And whether you want to illustrate it as a wasp with a stinger or, like I said, it's your words, this is what we're seeing. You don't want to let it all come out in one big cosmic lava blast, which is kind of what this looks like. The card was reversed, which was the sort of suppression of that. I think what's going to be important this month is to figure out ways to figure out in a clear sort of mind what it is you're trying to say, how to go about this in a way that is also going to be constructive rather than destructive, and to kind of like a, you know, I talk about a pressure cooker. There's this little vent thing that you can push that will make everything kind of not go so crazy or make sure there's no explosion. I feel like you need that pressure valve, a way to sort of like get it out in smaller spurts rather than one big thing. So for some of you, maybe it's talking to a therapist, talking to a friend, talking to human resources. There needs to be that ally that I'm talking about to help you sort out your thoughts, maybe even practice what you want to say. Overall, communication is powerful. Use it well, because if not used correctly, then you could end up saying something that you don't want to say, and it could be sticking in a way that you wish that it didn't. So yeah, just be careful with communication. Other aspects, if you're looking for love, this is actually an okay time to meet someone. A completely alternate interpretation of this is just Capricorn. So if we take the devil and just look at it as a Capricorn sign, then we have 3 of Cups, 4 of Wands, 10 of Wands. Still with that, it's to me non-committal energy. It's a chance to just get to know that person, and you don't want to put too much energy on top of that too quickly. And we have the 5 of Swords and the 7 of Swords. So honesty is still something to work on. And we also have Queen of Wands energy. So if I looked at like a Capricorn and then a fire sign, what I'm seeing here with the fire sign energy, it just seems to be very sort of closed off or stubborn. And Capricorn's usually more grounded. So you both are going to have to find a way to see each other's point of view. And I feel like for some of you, that's the challenge. It's just open ways of communication. I feel like there's someone in your midst, if we just don't look at it as a romantic relationship, where the two of you are working on trust. And maybe there was something in the past where you're having a hard time letting go of that. So once you can get at the trust dynamics of it, whether it's a friendship or something more romantic or heavier, this is the thing that you have to focus on with relationships is, are they still doing what they did in the past? And can you both be clearer and try not to sort of battle things out all the time now? If so, then there's hope. And I feel like you can get through it. And that really is a nice segue into the Destiny card. Honesty. Card was reversed, but let's read it in the upright. It says, I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. And I think that I would revise this. I would say that by being as honest as you can, you set the tone that this is who you are. And if people can't be honest around you, then it might be time to step away from them, because it's something where I believe that you really have to give what it's give and get. It's sort of reciprocity. So if you're constantly honest, you're constantly giving, and the other people are dishonest, then it's sort of setting up a spiritual deficit on some levels. So lead by example, state your expectations, give them a chance to meet you on the same level. And if they're not, again, that's choice. But you don't have to choose to continue to do business or have a relationship with someone who consistently is dishonest. So I would alter that card slightly and say that honesty is something that you can't expect unless you give. But if you are giving it and you're not receiving it, then it's a chance for you to evaluate if you still want to invest in that relationship, okay? Always a choice. And I'm just here to show you the choices. All right, let's go ahead and quickly review what we've talked about. Then we'll go a little deeper and we'll look at some of the energy around communications, around relationship structure, because we've got a lot going on with that as well. And communication, yeah, like I said, I think that's going to be one of the big themes here. So let's review it and see what else comes through as sometimes when I do a quick review, new insights come in. The first bit of channeled message that came through for everyone was really to lift the fog. And for many of you, you're going to be like that sunbreak, that opening that other people are looking for. And you have to lead by example there. Hope is a powerful tool for change and perseverance. Don't be afraid to go into that. You are the light, but others also must choose the path. And so realizing that, you don't have to do it all. It's actually a really nice blessing here. So light the path, but don't feel like you have the burden of making everybody change. Don't let the lower energy around you sort of eclipse your own light. You are brilliant, you are resplendent, you are a being of light. So exist in that space. And if others can't, then you can only do so much. Keep your sunny outlook. Stay hopeful. As I was mentioning with a lot of the leaders in our past who have used sort of nonviolent approaches towards change, they have to stay hopeful even when other people push them back. So that's something that you can do too. Don't be quiet this month. Don't be a wallflower. Lead the pack, lead the way. Others really kind of are testing you as well to see if you'll step up into that leadership opportunity. Follow your heart, fight for what matters, really let your passion lead the way. A lot of people will be inspired by you if you use that higher energy as well. And really people want to see where you stand. And this was kind of carried over from that previous card, which is sometimes a pushback is not the same as an outright no. Don't bottle up your emotions. Passion is a really important thing. And if you just let it sit or seethe, or if there's anger or whatever you're feeling, if it just sits there, it's not constructive. So find a way to give it an outlet, whether it's communication, whether it's art, whether it's even taking legal action. It's important to make a change. The other thing is mentally transmute, become an alchemist, go from low to high. I mentioned an example of that as prayer for St. Francis, but you can go to anything where you look at how to take a lower energy and bring it higher. And I gave you some examples. A lot of times when we're afraid, it's really just because we don't know what's going on. And as we do research and talk to others, the fear dissipates. Anger is a great motivator. It can give you what you need to prove people wrong. A lot of times if somebody says something or does something that's wrong or somehow just not really tuned into the possibilities, I'll use the anger to just basically say, I'm going to work 10 times harder and prove to you that this can be done. If you're feeling alone, reach out. As we can see here with the 3 of Cups and the 4 of Wands, there's definitely people that you can tap into that want to help you out. Let's go into the Wasp, your power symbol this month, your insect that came through. First of all, I think it's one of the insects out there that gets a bad rap, because really when I looked at it and I was like, all right, Mr. Wasp, tell me what you want me to show Sagittarius today. It says, well, I'm powerful, I'm strong, and I take action. I'm busy, I'm buzzing around, I'm doing things, I'm pollinating, I'm gathering. Also, people pay attention to me. So I want you to, for two things here. You can demonstrate your power. You don't have to always say things. And I want you to take action, don't act out. You're a role model. Also remember that as a sort of stem of this, your words are important. They stick around, especially now that we have the internet. Nothing ever goes away, really. So use them to uplift rather than to sting, okay? Finally, there are some hidden allies. Get to know the people around you. There's some really important friends and information and resources at your disposal, but it does require a little bit of work on your part. Insight is opening up. Your third eye is wide open. Listen to what it is bringing you. That's super important. Thank you, Ganesha. We have the devil at the center, which a lot of times is just a limiting card. So the limiting factor could be, are you looking for the same thing? Commitment, are you on the same page? Is there some sort of an agreement or a contract that is being placed in front of you where it feels like you're signing too much away? If there is, speak up. This is when you do want to be the Hornet and exactly get into what it is that you can't accept, and then stand your ground. Be the stubborn Queen of Wands that we see here. Otherwise, there's a revelation that's happening and a healing that is really at your front step, if you want to take it, where you learn something. Maybe someone trusts you enough, because this is a loving card here. We see two friends and it looks very sort of amicable to me. So maybe you've gained the trust of someone and they want to let you into onto a part of their past that they're not proud of. But the message here is that they've moved on. So I see a revelation and hopefully a strengthening of core relationships because of that. Never be afraid of the truth. So as we go into other aspects of what we want to look at this month, set an action plan in place. We like the Hierophant, it's good. You also have the ability to rework or work through structures like bureaucracies and hierarchies this month. Be strong, be stalwart, be very, very straightforward. Again, just remember, constructive, critical energy is okay, but not just critical. And the same goes for you. Make sure that you are elevating your own thoughts. Step away from fights that aren't worth fighting. There are some things where people just are trying to just get under your skin, and that's not really a good use of your time and energy. As we expand the forecast, many of you might find that you're more powerful than you thought. Sometimes it takes a sort of trigger in our life to find that power. It's definitely coming through. That's going to make you feel happier and healthier. It's also going to help you with your stomach. And for those of you that are dealing with sort of relationships in your life, again, it could be this Queen of Wands. A lot of times this can be like a stomach cramp. It could be disruptions in your hunger. You know, are you eating too much or not enough? When we have blockages in this chakra, that's why things can kind of get out of whack here. So you don't want that to happen, especially since we see a very creative and divine feminine energy. Use this instead to create and to give birth to things that you love, that you want in your life. For wealth, it's going to start for you and you alone. There's something sacred and secret about this sort of project or personal development that you might be embarking upon, and keep it quiet, keep it personal first, because sometimes it's just about the connection between you, your higher self, and the divine. Let it take form, let it take shape before you invite in all this other stuff, because it can kind of get in the way of the original vision. Also, we're lacking resource cards. Ask for them if you need them. You've definitely got some bossy energy here with the Hierophant, the Queen of Wands, and the Knight of Swords reversed. So you can do it. So if you need something, ask for it. To that end, just make sure that the request is kind and constructive. And that's really what we see here with relationships. Try not to argue. Communication overall is something that can elevate, but it's easy to kind of go into the darker energies if you're not careful. Honesty is super important. If you can't get that from others, it's time to question why not, and also perhaps why you're sort of sticking around if you're not receiving what you need. So let's go a little deeper now and look into the soul. We're going to look at past, present, and future. And as I look at the past, I want to see what the Seven of Swords energy is like, and also potentially the devil. What's been hidden and now is revealed. For many of you, this is a chance to also just get real with what you need to focus on as well. All right, so as we look at the past here, we have the Five of Pentacles. Yay, we finally have a resource card. All right, the Five of Pentacles for me is, it's really about self-confidence for many of you. And sometimes that is taken away in the past because of harsh words that were said, because of a door that was closed to us, whether it was love, friendship, family, even school, if a teacher said something. Usually comes from youth though. And oftentimes between those formative ages, like between 5 and 7 actually. So I want you to kind of glance back at the past, the deeper past, and think, you know, is there something that has kind of stung me? Maybe it was someone that said something that it just never went away. You know, words can be just as powerful as you know, physical force. So if somebody said something and it's sort of cut away at a piece of you, I want you to reclaim it this month. So just as we see revelation energy, there's also reclamation energy. So you are powerful. You have the capacity to reforge that piece of your soul and work on self-confidence, because when you feel worthy, others see you as someone that they want to invest in, and the resources open up. I'm so happy that we got an answer to the resources. So you've got this, and my message to you is, you know, you are amazing. When I'm looking at the energy here, I see the 10 of Wands, someone who can carry the weight of the world and still keep going. The Queen of Wands, someone who has an ability to, you know, create a really amazing plan for business, who can lead other people, who isn't afraid to get their hands dirty. And then also the Knight of Swords, someone who's real, who can say things that need to be said. So you got some really great leadership qualities. Don't let this thing from the past get in the way. You're worth more than people have told you you're worth, okay? So start to work on that inner thought. Even if you're really doing well, what I would say here is there's a potential to heal a path between you and a parent, you and a child, or you and a sibling, or someone in your family. So familial healing is definitely something you can tap into. And when it comes to abundance, there's always room to open up to more. And so for many of you, you've only hit the top of the iceberg. So why not welcome in more love and abundance in all forms? All right. Looking at the present, as I'm looking at the environment, it's the Queen of Wands. I'm looking at the 10 of Wands and the 5 of Swords. So leadership and communication is what I want to look at. And also just like how much you want to take on. So let's see, what's the message here? Yay, more pentacles. Interesting, as we start to go into the soul, we see the worth coming through. When you stop giving to others unnecessarily, you have more energy to bring about abundance in your life. Have you ever noticed sometimes if you're in an office, for instance, or if you're even like at school and you're in a group and somebody drops out or they go somewhere else or they quit or they move on, it can elevate the energy, especially if they were really sort of in a low frequency. This is the fog that I was talking about earlier. If you can take the energy out of these potential people in your life that just aren't accepting it, because it's sort of like you're on a hamster wheel, running and running and running, but nothing's happening. So I want you to take some of that energy and invest. Use the ceremony and invocation energy that we saw here with wealth, because it is wealth. And I want you to put it back within and think, what is it that I want to work on? What am I trying to do again here? Why am I here? Why am I in this relationship? Why am I in this job? Why am I studying this class? Why am I investing in this friendship? And as you start to get into that answer, then you're going to be able to figure out, hey, wait a second, maybe I can do some of this for myself. Maybe I'll have more to give if I'm just feeling more invested and they're feeling more invested too. The Page of Pentacles is also about doing something that you care about. So if you've just been kind of phoning it in, working from job to job just to pay the bills, or working because you were expected to, this is about going back into your soul path, your soul calling. We're in the soul path after all. So I believe that we all have to kind of like work with timing and resources around us. But the message here is be more passionate about what you do. Either find the passion or do something that brings more passion, and then we're going to see more resources. But maybe some of you were just told you couldn't, you shouldn't, you wouldn't, you can't, you're not going to get there. Maybe you were denied the resources, the schooling, the training, or the support so that you could achieve as much. But guess what? You can still do this at whatever age you're at. And sometimes in the comments, I get dismayed when I see someone that's maybe 40 or 50 or even 70. They're like, I'm too old, it's not going to happen. If you say that, it won't. I want you to just think about change as a gentle and slow process like we see here, and start to just move towards that. You'll only fail if you think you will, okay? If you think you might succeed, guess what? You might succeed. So start thinking in the affirmative rather than that sort of constant critical energy, okay? Let's take a look now at where this is all leading you. What's opening up to you? Wheel of Fortune. Have you noticed all of the resource cards came out here, which is great. This is the reversed Wheel of Fortune, but I still like this. This is showing for me, many of you are on a journey of change for the next 10 to 12 months, kind of hearkening back to what I just said. Change doesn't have to happen in a moment. It could take place over the course of the next year ahead. So I would love for you to open up to creating that plan of action and thinking about, all right, I can't do it right now because of resources or timing or restrictions because we're in the middle of this pandemic. So start to put into an action plan what the next year is going to look like. We see the 4 seasons on this card. You can actually see that. Winter, fall, spring, summer, it's illustrated here. So this is a year, and you're going to keep pushing. You don't want to be like the monkey up there that's afraid of moving forward. You can do this. Sorry, it's my neighbor upstairs working out. You can do this. So I think it's super important for you to just believe in yourself and know that it won't happen overnight. And anything that's worth doing takes time, energy, and investment. So what we really see here is investing in yourself, right? Overcoming anything from the past where you were told, shown, or suggested that you weren't enough. Starting to take ownership and make a plan, and realizing that once you believe in yourself, over the course of the next year, things start to happen. All right. So I see you moving from a place of maybe lacking or not having as much as you could to really developing and really seeing that glass ceiling shattered. This is not for August. This is for 2020, even going into 2021, because this is the soul path and this card is 4 seasons. So give yourself a year, put some goals into play, and I feel like you've got some great potential and some great things that are going to happen. Okay. Let's meditate now. I really want to help you guys get into that energy of development. And as I look at the cards in front of me, we see, of course, third eye opening. And thankfully, the singing bowl that I'm going to use in the meditation is tuned into the third eye. So this will naturally help you with that. And I also want to help you perhaps overcome any fear or doubt or uncertainty that you might have experienced because of family, and just step into that change, this sort of portal of energy here. So it'll come to me as we do the meditation. I want you now to get comfortably seated. I'm going to set everything up here, and I just want you to let go, stay open here. I think that the important thing that we're going to try to do is to release any of those limiting thoughts from your past, okay? So as you close your eyes, I want you to do a scan of your body, and just imagine that this breath that you have is going to be like the blue sky above you. Imagine that you are out on a beach, beautiful clear sand beneath you, and the water is the color like aquamarine, these beautiful shades of blue and green and turquoise. And as you lay down on the sand, I just want you to feel the warmth and radiance of the sun and the blue energy of the sky above you. Allow for these things to go into your body and just open up, ground, and help you release anything that's heavy. First breath that you take, inhale. Allow for those heavier energies now to go towards the sand, and allow the sand to be a sieve that is going to take those energies and push them into the earth. Feel the warmth and light of the sun open you up on each and every cell of your body to receive insight, to receive hope, to allow for this abundance that I see to start to soak into your sort of higher self. And I want you to listen to the sound of the ocean. We're going to work with sound waves or sine waves. And I want you to to sort of feel the energy, not of the water, but of the sound that comes after the water has hit the beach. And imagine that this energetic wave is going to move over, through, and around you, taking away what you don't need, sort of one layer at a time, going into that sort of onion until the core is there, until you are basically back to your soul energy, to that higher energy. And as I play this singing bowl, I just want you to allow for the energy of the ocean to clear, the sun to open, and the ground to basically neutralize or take anything away that you don't need. So just sit here, receive, and allow for the sun and the ocean to be the natural healers that you deserve. Take a nice deep breath. Exhale. Imagine that on the sand in front of you, you could trace a perfect circle. And do this a little bit closer to the water's edge, just enough so that one of the stronger waves comes in and fills that circle with water. I want you to gaze into this portal now, this beautiful sort of mirror into your soul. And I want you to see the person that you are truly on the soul level. We just took away all those layers of the onion skin. And what's looking back now is a beautiful, resplendent, sunny sort of energy that we were talking about earlier. You've embodied the energy of the sun above you. You're now like that solar deity with a sunny disposition. I want you to gently touch the water and look at how your energy starts to change and shift. And I want you also to realize that as you touch the water again, it's a portal of sorts. And I want you to feel free to step into that new self, that new energy, and into that portal. Imagine that you just take one step and then the other. And as you take a deep breath, the circle kind of turns into this portal of light above you. And as you look around you, the world has started to shift. It's started to change. It's like you're in this tractor beam. And I want you to imagine yourself now in a future where your goals have been achieved, where abundance in all forms is coming through, and where you no longer limit yourself by what other people have said or thought about you in the past. That was their truth. It wasn't necessarily the truth. So start to step into the truth of your own soul, of the divine right to happiness, to love, to abundance. And let's set that intention for the rest of 2020. Take one last deep breath and see your energy coming into your human body. You can take your two hands, rub them together, put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that, and welcome back. All right, everybody. So let's take a moment here just to, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for joining me. A lot of you still stuck around for the meditation, and I appreciate that. I think that's one of the most powerful, important parts. So I'm glad you're here. And Let's take a moment here just to also say thanks to everybody who's been kind enough to give me super chats. I've seen a bunch coming through. So for anybody that did that, I will send a little bit of gratitude on the replay in the comments section. If you want to do it while I'm talking, you can still use this icon here. By the way, I figured out that for the past 5 months, my comments haven't been showing up. Only the pinned one does. So I'll be replying to my pinned ones, but I've been saying thank you even if it hasn't showed up. But YouTube is quirky, right? If you haven't already, actually, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do that. It's a great way to tell YouTube that the content here is worth checking out, and it helps the channel. And it's an easy and free way to do it. Subscribing doesn't cost. It's just basically like following on Facebook. This says it's good. And this, if you want to get more notifications, you can opt into it. Otherwise, please join me on social media. On most of the major platforms, you can find me at the handle Nicholas Ashbaugh, typed exactly as shown, no spaces. And on Instagram and Facebook, I'll actually use my stories to include links to future videos. So it's a great way to know what's coming through today and the next day. And on TikTok, I show some behind the scene footage. And on Patreon, it's another way for you to just give back if you would like to, as little as $1 a month. The join button is another way to do that here. And I see so many channel members today. Thank you so much. It's hard to see here, but if you want to join me, you can do that. You get some extra emojis, and it's kind of like a nice way to set it and forget it and just give back. So to everyone that's done that, thank you. Twitter is the only one that is different. It's @Ashbaugh just because of character limits. I'd love you to follow me there as well if you'd like. And all of this stuff is on my official website, nicholasashbaugh.com. So you don't have to remember all of this. If you can't find this, if you're on mobile or on the desktop and you can't see the links, just go to my main profile page, click About, and all of those are on that page, including this. I know some of you prefer PayPal, so it's paypal.me/NicholasAshbaugh. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope that you got something out of the reading today and that you start to step into your power. I mean, that's why I saw the Wasp and the Hornet. It is a symbol of power. And once I started to see the energy of abundance, it really had to do with self-worth and focusing on what you could do, and maybe putting a little less energy into people around you that tend to deflate or absorb but don't give back. I think that's the key thing. You definitely have an attractive energy because we have that 4 of Wands at the center. So be discerning in the relationships that you decide to invest in, and don't be afraid for personal development, invocation, ceremony, as we see here in the wealth card. So anyway, powerful month ahead for you. Thank you so much, Sagittarius. I'll be back again tomorrow, reading for Capricorn. So same time, same place. I hope you guys can join me if that's in your sun, rising, moon, or Venus. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Be kind to yourselves as well. Wishing you a lot of love and abundance. We definitely saw it coming through for you, okay? Take care, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.